Well, you've really turned some heads with this offer. Close to $1 million in prize money is going to get some attention, and that's really what you want.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah. It's a topic that's not necessarily new. I mean, you could say it's been swished around in a lot of mouths over centuries.
Yeah, absolutely. Thousands of years.
Yeah.
From day one.
So do you hope that you'll uncover something a little bit new?
Well,
This has been tossed around for centuries by mystics, Sufis, religionists, philosophers.
right.
And yet you're looking for a new approach.
Yes, we're trying to stimulate conversation and debate in a subject that is to some people a little scary. You don't want to contemplate your own death. So far, nobody has escaped that, so it's a pretty serious subject.
Yeah.
And we want to provide an opportunity for a forum for really good quality essays to be written. To that's the function of the prize, is first, second, third place. And we have $500,000 first place award, $300,000 for second place, and $150,000 for third. But I suspect it's going to be very difficult for the judges to determine who's first, second, and third. We have some very heavy hitters in terms of people who have applied that have terrific backgrounds in this field.
So you've got applicants already?
Oh, we do. We absolutely do.
And you're vetting them too, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, carefully, yeah. So we're not just randomly saying, okay, we're going to throw anybody into the pot here who has something to say, but they have no foundation for the depth of the research that's required to say something. And quoting scripture isn't allowed, because anybody can do that. We're looking for more kinds of commentary from evidentiary kind of approach.
Testimony, eyewitness?
Witnesses matter.
Yeah.
We took the Western court system as our guide in terms of beyond a reasonable doubt, which doesn't mean 100%, but that's enough to convict, a decision. And witnesses matter.
The preponderance of data.
Absolutely, absolutely. What's the consensus that you've gathered here from a lot of different multiple sources?
So you're excited about who signed up so far?
Oh, I am. We have some very, very talented people who've devoted their lives to this subject, not because of it from a religious perspective, but from a serious intent to do scientific investigation.
So we're going to invoke scientific practice here, theory, come up with a theory, try to prove it. You're looking for evidence that's not just circumstantial, but empirical. You're looking for a scientific approach.
Yes, we are. Maybe things that are caught on camera, right, as well as testimony, and that's, pictures are worth 1,000 words, right?
Sure.
And so it matters how they were taken, who took them, was there anything doctored up about the photography in any kind of way, and and of course, that's you can say what you want about mediums and psychics and so forth, but it's my experience that there are a few that are absolutely legitimate. They are real in terms of their abilities, and
again, the preponderance of data over the years tells you there's something there.
It does. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
It does. And there's so much of something there. There's so much smoke. There's got to be some fire, and I don't mean hellfire and damnation fire.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is something there because there's too much going on, and there has been for many, many centuries.
Let me ask you: is there any part of your personal loss that has prompted you to launch into this project?
It is. I would say I have a renewed interest because of my wife's passing, but I was very interested in this in the 80s, in the late 80s. And back at that time, I was also investigating the UFO topic.
Right.
And both of these, I like the phenomena aspects of the challenge.
The paranormal.
Yeah, those are the two holy grails. And I think what happens to you after you die is the first holy grail.
Absolutely.
And the second one is, are we alone?
Right.
So.
Are you not satisfied that the data you've seen, the empirical evidence, the pictures, video, you're not convinced that's enough in your mind to show that there is life after?
Oh, I don't need convincing.
Okay.
I am already totally convinced. I have so many things,
Okay.
including personal experiences and a lot of reading of a lot of literature, talking to an awful lot of people, that I don't need convincing.
Okay.
That isn't what this is all about. It's not me. And I get correspondences from people that are friends or I don't even know, and the correspondences say, I have all the answers for you. All the answers to all the questions that you're seeking, I have the answers. And I'm laughing to myself a little bit because I'm saying, in some ways, you don't even know what the questions are. You know, you're looking at this from a conventional standpoint, and the questions are far beyond that.
Yeah, you're looking for a more open mind. We're looking at a spectrum from, like you said, agnostics to atheists to diehard, rigid religionists, and you're asking, let's take a whole new look at this again. Wait a minute, let's open this up for.
Well, this is kind of thin ice territory, because there are people that get offended if you start to question the religious teachings they have, and maybe that says there is nothing beyond this.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a certain quantity of folks, and that's in that category. And then others that say, well, I know exactly what it is. It's an eternal purgatory or hellfire and damnation, or you're going to be floating around playing a harp forever, and that's it.
Yeah.
And no, from my background and experience, that isn't it. That isn't all there is.
What if it turns out that there's that our capability of measuring or proving such a thing is not possible to be measured, or it's not capable? We're not capable of doing that with what we have now or what we know now. That it's beyond even our understanding as we know it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it could be worse than that. It could be that there's a limit as to what we're intended to be able to know.
Yes.
You know, and the ET subject is similar in that regard too.
Yes.
But it could be in this consciousness survival that, yeah, there are limits maybe as to what even is capable, not only in this kind of time frame, but maybe for centuries. You know, nobody knows.
Because I think there's a certain part of life that engages the mystery and doesn't want to be solved. Would you agree?
I suppose so. You know, there is some comfort in knowing, but sometimes maybe it's a little scary if you'd be better off. Not that ignorance is bliss, but there's a cousin to that in saying that maybe there are features that you're more comfortable not knowing. Mm-hmm. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, well, I've always kind of embraced the fact that if there's mystery, then there's still a chance for things to happen within that possibility.
Yes.
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 And that leaves an open book.
That's right.
Upon which things can be written. You know. But so you're not going to judge these yourself?
Oh no.
Will you have any part of that?
No.
Okay.
No, absolutely not. Myself and staff, we have hands off. It's up to our 5 judges who are terrific folks, terrific backgrounds. And so we're not going to be suggesting anything. It's up to them, you know, to make the decisions. And so that's.
Was that tough choosing those 5 people?
It was. We gave a lot of thought to who they should be, and we interviewed a number of prospective judges beyond the 5 that were selected, and we're very happy with the 5.
I would think Leslie would be a great prospect for producing the document you're looking for. I mean, she seems very erudite.
Well, she is, except she decided to be a judge.
Okay, there you go.
So we were thrilled to be able to have her as a judge. Yeah, she is very capable of producing a tremendous essay if she wanted to.
Oh, I think she would have done well. Have you ever read the book Proof of Heaven by Eben Alexander,
yes.
the neurologist?
Yes.
Fascinating book.
Yes, it is.
Does that fall under the purview of what you're looking for here?
There are a lot of permutations of what the other side is about. And of course, our contest is, does it even exist? So there's 2 levels here, right? Does the other side even exist is our contest. And like I said, that threatens certain kinds of religious upbringing and all of that. But for me, the more interesting question is, what is the other side all about? And that's a very broad amount of information. There's a tremendous amount of information on that question, and from a lot of different sources.
Oh my
and
gosh.
so
Yeah.
I am personally still very much a student of trying to investigate, like a journalist would be, like you. And so I
And it's fun being a student of this kind of stuff.
It absolutely
really
is. It really is.
So you said, please, no quoting of Scripture. What about the use of the Bible as a historical document, say, in this?
Well, you have to. I'm guessing that the judges are going to be pretty demanding as to making sure that it's not allegory, and if you're trying to create and relate a certain story that comes from the Bible, how thoroughly is it substantiated? And so I think that's really interesting territory that can have problems. It can be problematic to do that, and I don't know. There probably will be some applicants who are submitting their essays that get into that area. I don't know how sympathetic the judges are going to be to that. I think they may be looking for more, something that's more tangible, that they can actually, you can define, you can get your hands around it and say, this absolutely, positively happened. We know this, and here's why. And that's why we can say the other side does exist.
Are the judges directed by this set of rules too, or have you given them a separate paradigm to work with?
No, we have the rules as pertaining to who should be considered as a qualified applicant, and so the judges are going to be handed a body of
Criteria.
essays that have already they've been culled down to the best of the best, and that produce what we think is the best case to the jury, to the judges.
But they have their marching orders of what criteria they use to judge these documents.
We're looking for a consensus, 3 out of the 5 judges to agree on first, second, and third place, and we haven't dictated much to them at all. In fact, I don't think we've dictated anything except saying, here's the rules for the applicant to apply, and then okay, judges, here's a whole bunch of essays, and you have 3 months to digest them, to read them, to talk about them, and look at the efficacy of each of these essays as to who should win.
I'm gonna quote you here from a previous interview that I've read about you, and one of your statements was, "What if it does matter how you live your life now?"
Yeah.
That could fit into a karmic paradigm, or any sort of religion where you're responsible for your actions now, and that would affect the afterlife.
And apparently, in my limited research and understanding so far, there seems to be a karmic effect, that what you can do for others matters.
Sort of a what goes around comes around, or
yeah, I would say so.
you do good, you receive good, you give, you receive, those kind of things. Yeah. I'm going to do a bad job of this, but the most advanced theories of physics now show that the observer has an effect on the actual experiment.
Right.
That an experiment that goes without observation comes with a different outcome than the experiment that's observed.
True.
So you're actually, if you're watching it, you're affecting the experiment itself. There's something paranormal about that, don't you think?
Well, yeah. So you get into the effects of consciousness and the effects of thought. So consciousness is a force, because again, if you're observing subatomic particles, then they coalesce into a particular point, and you can calculate the speed and so forth. And when they're unobserved, they're not. They're everywhere. They're like a cloud. So consciousness is a force. And if you've heard of micro and macro PK, and people who have demonstrated that have done so on film in bell jars. They've been able to levitate things and so forth. So that's from consciousness effect. So it's outside the five senses that we're familiar with. It's outside of all physics, too.
Yeah.
There are no explanations
Right.
for these kinds of things. So our physics is very, very incomplete, hugely incomplete.
True.
Thought is a more of a creator kind of thing. So, and so those are two very maybe universal forces. And I'm always suspicious of theorists and physicists who claim to understand how the universe was evolved and how it began.
I feel that way about archaeologists. They
Yeah.
think they've got it set in
Yeah,
stone, and
that's
every
right.
time they discover something new, they have to rearrange their theories.
And if you don't know what 95% of all energy is in the universe, dark energy and dark matter,
energy, right.
and you're telling me the Big Bang is it, that's the
Yeah.
answer, right?
You'll excuse me if I'm skeptical, yeah.
Sure.
I was going to ask you too, if you believe the human mind even has the capacity to understand some of these concepts, or were we designed without having that capability, or were we designed? All those things seem to come to bear on this issue. If there is a greater God, or if there is a greater force in the universe, a higher power, whatever you want to call it, did they give us the ability to actually discern these things? Or were we meant to discern them?
Well, is there an intersection between human spirituality, the growth of human spirituality, and our technological achievements? And there isn't. It's not even close. The human spirituality evolution is practically flatlined. The 20th century was the most dynamic killing century in the history of mankind in terms of number of people, that died because of wars and so forth. So the evidence isn't huge that spirituality is climbing. Yet our technological achievement is vertical, and it's segmented because it's jumping.
Yeah.
It's going so fast, it's jumping. So now, if those two lines never intersect, is that a good or a bad thing? So that you're you have technological capabilities that without the spiritual maturity to handle them. So if you were on another planet, would you want to really have human beings be at your planet on your doorstep?
It's like scientific advancements outpacing our ability to pass laws that can regulate them. It's kind of the same thing. So will BICS, or BICS, I guess as you call it, will it depend on the results of this, or does it have a future goal or a future at all without this?
Well, BICS is a research organization first. We hope to stimulate research and stimulate interest in survival of human consciousness. And so we're taking it kind of one step at a time. This contest is going to occupy most all of this year to conclude it and judge it. And then we're hoping that the contestants are going to be on your show you can interview them and they can explain how they came up with their essays and everything. So,